Hello everyone, this is Brian Dawdar. I am the Vice President of Stationary Business Unit Service Group for SPS Nolan Power Group QSS. And we're here today to talk about an incident that occurred at one of our customers' facilities. It was a very serious incident and it could have been a lot worse. It got one of our customers upset, got one of our employees injured, and we want to make sure that we can do everything that we can to make sure it doesn't occur again. So Matt O'Connell, who's our stationary service manager in Texas region, is going to describe the incident to us. So Matt, why don't you take it over?
Sure. So you've got a total of 6, 7, 8 strings of 125 volts. What we were doing was making these 4 strings, so in a grand total of 250 volts per string. What we do is you isolate this bus bar, isolate this bus bar, and then tie string 1 and 4, string 2 and 5, and 3 and 6 in series individually to create the 250 volts that you need on each of those. Our fourth 250 is going to come from the cabinet that's on the floor, and there's another cabinet that will be outside of the container itself. And then these two will connect up via a pigtail to the positive and negative bus bars. All right, Brian, so I just described how the job was supposed to happen and how it would happen if everything was done the way the procedures call it out to be done. But can you tell everybody what actually happened on this particular day?
So basically 4 things went wrong here. The first being that the technician did not fill out a JSA. As everyone knows, JSA is part of our procedure, must be filled out prior to any task or any work that we do, and that procedure was not followed. So that's the first thing that we did wrong. A decision was made not to do the JSA. The second thing that went wrong here was basically a mistake. The technician made a mistake. He connected the positive cable of the pigtail to the negative bus bar and the positive cable to the negative bus bar of the Anderson connector. So that was one of the mistakes that the technician made on this one. And then of course we have procedures and policies in place to prevent mistakes from becoming injuries or incidents. In this case, the third thing that went wrong was the fact that the technician did not follow the procedure, which was to use the multimeter to determine voltage and polarity on these connectors prior to plugging those in. Once those connectors were plugged in, we had a short circuit which resulted in an arc flash, and of course now we have an incident. And just to make matters worse, the fourth thing that went wrong was that the technician made a decision not to wear approved PPE that we have for these tasks, and that resulted in an injury. Once the arc flash occurred, the gloves were burnt to the technician's hands, causing second-degree burns.
Speaking with the technician, he described the whole event like when he made that initial connection, there was a big flash. Obviously, a lot of heat generated off of that arc flash, and it actually started to melt his gloves, like you said before. He jumped up, ran out of the Connex, and started running away, trying to pull these gloves off of his hands that had actually become stuck on both sides of his hands. So it created a lot of pain. And then the follow-on, he had multiple appointments after that, and they had to go in and continuously scrape his skin off to get the new skin to heal back up. Okay, so we've laid out what was supposed to happen with this job, and then we described what it was that actually happened with the job. And I described the pain that this technician went through. So what are we actively doing and pursuing right now to ensure that this doesn't happen again and we provide a safe working environment for our technicians?
All right, so the first thing we did, Matt, is we actually met with the customer. We had a root cause analysis, and they obviously worked together with us on that to determine what occurred, what happened, and what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. We discussed all those lessons learned through those meetings with the customer. The second thing that occurred is our CEO, Jake Walker, appointed to create a safety task force. That safety task force is made up of several managers, some of our technicians, some of our project managers, of all 3 entities, being QSS, Nolan, and SPS, to determine how we can prevent this from occurring again. We wanted to look into all of our procedures, our policies. What came out of that is we created our cardinal rules of safety, which basically are 5 to stay alive. We also, we refocused our efforts on performing field safety audits. We found some gaps in our certain existing policies that we needed to kind of tighten up a little bit. Also, we redesigned our JSA to make it more interactive. We found some holes with that as well. and we felt we could do a better job in that area. So there'll be more improvements to come as things go along. We have several meetings scheduled with the Safety Task Force, and as more of those findings come out, we'll make sure that we communicate that to all involved. Okay, so we appreciate everyone's time. Hopefully you get a lot out of this video. The main thing we want to impress upon everyone is safety is number one. Safety is priority with this company. We create all of these safety policies and procedures. We provide all of the PPE that's needed to do the job safely, and hopefully we create a very safe environment for everyone to work in. But at the end of the day, it's up to each individual person to live that safety and create a good safety culture by following those procedures, completing the JSAs, and wearing the proper PPE. And if you have a question or an issue or concern with that, make sure you contact your manager about that. Thank you.
Thank you.